Welcome to the show, where the intensity never drops and the playoff action is heating up. We are jumping right into the Boston Celtics locker room, where Nikola Vucevic is stepping up to address the defensive concerns from their recent loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. The big man is calling for calm, insisting that a total team effort is the key to shutting down those perimeter threats as they prepare for a high-stakes Game 3.
Tired of dropping your phone or struggling to prop it up? Meet the Pop Sockets phone grip with expanding kickstand in black, your new must-have accessory. Don't miss out. Grab yours today. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
Next up, we are looking at the perspective of Celtics guard Derrick White, who is keeping a level head despite the noise surrounding this series. He is framing the Game 2 loss against the 76ers not as a disaster, but as a vital learning curve. White believes that by analyzing those specific pockets of the game, the team can regain control of the small details that define postseason victories. We are keeping our focus on the mindset of the Boston Celtics as they regroup after falling in Game 2. Guard Derrick White continues to emphasize that while losing in the playoffs feels like the end of the world to the fans, the roster is staying locked in on the controllables. He remains convinced that the team has the capacity to iron out their execution errors and shift the momentum back in their favor. Finally, we have to talk about the brutal reality check delivered by radio host Spike Eskin regarding the Philadelphia 76ers and their series against the Celtics. Eskin is raining on the parade of Sixers fans, claiming that despite the Game 2 upset, Philadelphia has absolutely no chance of winning the series because Boston is simply the better team. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss a beat on this playoff race. Ever feel like the sky is falling after a single playoff loss? If you've been scrolling through social media, you'd think the Boston Celtics defense was completely broken after that Game 2 stumble against the 76ers. Fans are absolutely losing it over Tyrese Maxey pulling up for those wide-open threes, and they're pointing fingers directly at Boston's big men. But before you call for a total roster overhaul, Celtics newcomer Nikola Vucevic has a message for the fanbase. Take a breath. Vucevic recently stepped up at practice to preach a little perspective, urging everyone not to overreact to a handful of long-range shots. He's quick to point out that basketball isn't played in a vacuum, and what looks like a defensive breakdown by a center is often just a breakdown in the chain. Vooch broke it down for the press, reminding us that elite defense is a symphony, not a solo. When a guard gets caught on a screen, it's not just on the big man to magically appear. It's about the rotation, the help side defense, and all five guys moving on a string. It's that constant, connected communication that turns a defensive possession from a disaster into a stop. The bottom line, it's a team game, and the Celtics believe they have the tools to fix these lapses without panic button adjustments. Do you think the Celtics can tighten up the perimeter rotation in Game 3, or is the size issue something they just can't overcome against Maxey's speed? Drop your take in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the playoffs. Remember, a series is a marathon, not a sprint, and sometimes the most important adjustment is simply the one you make in your own head. Ever feel like the sky is falling after a tough loss? We have all been there. But for Boston Celtics guard Derrick White, the narrative after a high-stakes playoff defeat is about a whole lot more than just the final score. Following the Celtics' Game 2 stumble against the 76ers, the mood in Boston was understandably tense, but White brought a refreshing level of perspective to the locker room. He admitted that while losing in the postseason feels like the absolute end of the world, it is actually the perfect environment for a growth mindset. Instead of spiraling, White is breaking down the tape to find those critical pockets of the game where momentum shifted. It is the classic sports cliché that you learn more from failure than success, but White is leaning into that reality, focusing on the controllable plays that could have flipped the script. It is all about the little things, the hustle, the decision-making, and the execution that separate contenders from champions. If you want to dive deeper into the Celtics mindset, check out our latest episode of Havlicek Extol the Pod on Blue Wire, iTunes, or our YouTube channel for the full breakdown. Wins are great, but the way a team dissects a loss defines their season. At the end of the day, Championships aren't won in the heat of the moment, but in the quiet, analytical work that happens after the buzzer sounds. Ever feel like the sky is falling when your favorite team drops a crucial playoff game? We've all been there, staring at the screen in disbelief, convinced the season is over. But Derrick White, he's keeping his cool. After the Celtics' tough Game 2 loss to the Sixers, the veteran guard sat down and offered a perspective that might surprise you. White admits that losing in the postseason feels like the absolute end of the world. And let's be honest, the Boston fan base certainly wasn't hiding their panic, but he's choosing to look past the scoreboard. To White, these high-leverage losses aren't just heartbreakers, they are high-definition teaching moments. He explained that when you break down the film, you start to see those tiny pockets of the game where things slipped away. The specific runs, the missed opportunities, and the plays that were just one decision away from swinging the entire momentum in their favor. It's a classic athlete's mindset. It's easy to overlook your flaws after a win, but a loss demands accountability. White is locked into the idea that winning and losing come down to those controllable details, the small things that usually fly under the radar until the pressure is on. It's a level-headed reminder that championships aren't just won on talent, they're won on discipline. If you're a die-hard Celtics fan, you need to be dialed into the Havlicek Stole, the pod show for the latest deep dives on the team. Check the links in the description to subscribe on Blue Wire, iTunes, or YouTube. At the end of the day, it's not about how hard you fall, but how quickly you can turn a gut-wrenching loss into a masterclass for the next game. After all, the difference between a legend and an afterthought is often just a handful of those little plays. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A massive underdog steals a game, the fans go absolutely ballistic, and then reality comes crashing down like a brick wall. That is exactly where we find ourselves with the Philadelphia 76ers after they stunned the Celtics in Game 2. The series is tied at 1-1, heading back to Philly, and suddenly everyone is acting like the tides have turned. But before you go betting the house on the Sixers, you need to hear what local radio host Spike Eskin had to say, because he just delivered a massive reality check. While acknowledging the win was impressive, Eskin didn't mince words, flatly stating, "They have no chance." And honestly, he's probably right. Look, we all love an underdog story, but in the NBA, you can't just rely on a shooting fluke to carry you through a 7-game series. Boston is statistically better at literally everything: offense, defense, coaching, you name it. Game 2 was a total anomaly where the Celtics beat themselves with terrible shot selection while Philly just couldn't miss from deep. It's highly unlikely that lightning strikes twice in the same spot. Does the grit of a single win make for a great headline? Absolutely. But is it a sustainable path to taking down a top-seeded juggernaut? Not a chance. The reality is that the Celtics are the deeper, more talented squad, and one off night isn't enough to redefine the hierarchy of this matchup. It's time to stop letting one emotional win blind us to the actual talent gap on the court. If you think the Sixers are about to pull off a miracle, I'd love to hear why in the comments below. So drop your take, hit that subscribe button, and let's see if Philly can prove the skeptics wrong, or if they're just delaying the inevitable.